HowExpert! Top 10 knitting tips and lessons. How to knit for beginners. Number 1. Buy plain, affordable yarn. Going to the yarn store is a feast for the eyes and the fingers. So many colors, thicknesses, and textures await your needles. It is tempting to pick up a wild yarn with lots of fuzzy strands and a rainbow of colors to use for your first project. But pass over that one in favor of a plainer yarn. Choosing a worsted weight acrylic yarn in a bright, easy-to-see color will make seeing your stitches and mistakes that much easier. If you have to cut your yarn and throw away a messed up project, using a cheaper yarn will make it that much easier too. There is a time and place for those super fun yarns, so save them for a future project. Number 2. Splurge a little on needles. While you should aim for a more affordable yarn, spending a little more on quality needles is a worthwhile first purchase. Needles come in a variety of materials, but the most common at the bigger craft stores are metal or bamboo. Metal needles are lightweight and slippery, while bamboo needles are a little heavier and a little stickier. Trying a set of each to determine your personal preference will make buying future needles much more cost-effective as you choose ones you like. Making sure you buy the correct size is paramount. The label of the yarn will tell you the needle sizes recommended for that yarn, and you should choose the right size needle for the job. Needles that are too small will result in a stiff fabric that is hard to knit, while needles that are too big will result in a loose, floppy fabric that might slide off your needles. Number 3. Swatch First. Swatching is making a small square of knitting using the yarn and needles you plan to use for a project. Most knitters make a square around 4 inches by 4 inches. This size is common because the labels of most yarn will tell you the expected needle size and how many stitches go into 4 inches of knitting and how many rows it takes to reach 4 inches tall of knitting. Swatching lets you see how the way you knit compares to the label. This is really important when making clothing and items you need to be a specific size. Swatching is also great for testing out new techniques like cabling or a new way to decrease stitches. Number 4. Choose an easy first project. Skip the scarf when choosing your first project. Many sites recommend a scarf as an easy first project because you can make them as wide, detailed, or as long as you want. While this is true, most brand new knitters lack one essential skill necessary to not lose their minds while knitting a scarf: stamina. As a brand new knitter, you have not yet built up the knitting stamina needed to get through what will surely be a long project. Aiming for a garter stitch washcloth, which has the same customizable nature but is far quicker to make, will give you practice while you make something practical for your home. Tons of free patterns exist for washcloths too. Number 5. Master knitting before purling. Mastering garter stitch, or fabric made with just knit stitches, isolates the new skills you're working on and makes it more likely you'll succeed. All of knitting is made of just 2 stitches: knit or purl. Everything comes down to these 2 important building blocks. Many patterns call for garter stitch, and you can create just about any kind of project using just knit stitches. Once you are fully confident in working knit stitches and know the anatomy of that stitch, learning purl stitches will be so much easier. Number 6. Learn those abbreviations. Abbreviations can seem confusing, but learning common ones will make reading patterns so much easier. Knitting patterns rely on abbreviations. There are many that can be confusing to beginning knitters, but fortunately those same abbreviations are used across most patterns. Keep a chart of common knitting abbreviations handy as you work on your first project and refer to it as needed. Soon, you'll memorize those abbreviations and can move even more quickly through a pattern. Number 7. Read patterns first. Speaking of patterns, for your first project, you will want to use a pattern and read it completely through before you cast on a single stitch. Reading the entire pattern will give you a full picture of the work ahead. Also, you won't encounter any surprises while you are knitting. If anything is confusing, research it and write down tips on your pattern sheet. Reading ahead gives you time to think through any confusing parts of the pattern without the pressure of stitches waiting on the needles. When you get to that trouble spot, you'll be prepared to forge ahead. Number 8. Use free patterns. Quality free patterns abound online. Many major yarn companies provide free patterns on their websites and might even have support for those patterns. There are talented designers who create gorgeous knitting patterns, but for a brand new beginner, utilize the abundance of free patterns online. Many patterns are also marked as beginner-friendly or easy, so you can choose a project to fit your confidence and skill set. Number 9. Keep great project notes. Just like you can write on your patterns to plan ahead, write on them to record what happens while you knit. Keeping great pattern notes will help you work out what you were doing. Write down the yarn and needles you used, any trouble spots, places you might want to change, dates you started and finished, or what you liked or disliked about the pattern. If you want to knit the same pattern again in the future, those notes could be invaluable to creating a fantastic project once again. Number 10. Find knitters online. Chatting with friends or having a support group for your new craft can be one of the best ways to enjoy knitting. Strike up a beginners group with your friends or find a local group of knitters. Several sites for knitters feature forums and groups where you can connect with knitters as well. Friends can help you learn a new skill and keep you accountable for your works in progress. Having a group for your new skill can help support your learning while also having fun. HowExpert publishes quick how-to guides on all topics from A to Z by everyday experts. Visit HowExpert.com to learn more.